Welcome to the Hangar Z Podcast, brought to you by Vertical HeliCASTS and in partnership with Vertical Valor Magazine. In this episode, Jack Shanley and I sit down with Brandon Rose, who's the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department Chief Pilot.
And then, of course, we hear about Camp Mystic with all the girls stuck over there and the cabin that washed away. By the end of the day, my guys ended up rescuing 3 out of trees and stuck on limbs with the hoist. And I think Texas DPS had around the same numbers. And then right after that, we focused on Camp Mystic. And we couldn't get game warden trucks or boats out there. So helicopter was the only way out for these girls that are scared to death and, crying and muddy and everything else. So
the conversation highlights the critical response to the devastating floods that swept through hill country in central Texas in July 2025, with Brandon sharing valuable insights into the numerous challenges faced during rescue operations amid severe weather conditions. In July 2025, the hill country region of Texas experienced catastrophic flooding when water levels along the Guadalupe River rose rapidly, overwhelming communities and complicating rescue efforts. This intense flooding resulted in at least 135 fatalities, with over 117 occurring in Kerr County. This event was driven by a mesoscale convective vortex enhanced by tropical moisture from the remnants of Tropical Storm Barry, which was a short-lived tropical cyclone, along with residual moisture from the eastern Pacific. Brandon's insights highlight the resilience, adaptability, and skill required by rescue teams to effectively navigate extreme weather conditions. He emphasizes the importance of thorough training and mission proficiency, alongside the critical role that advanced technology plays in enhancing emergency response capabilities. The importance of accurate forecasting and the integration of UAS technology in emergency response are highlighted. Brandon also reflects on his journey to becoming a game warden and a pilot. During the conversation, Brandon discusses the evolution of aircraft used in public safety, the training and operations for rescue missions, and the challenges faced in adapting new mission profiles. He highlights the importance of technology, particularly drones and artificial intelligence, in enhancing operational efficiency. This conversation concludes with advice for aspiring public safety aviators, emphasizing perseverance and the importance of training. Thank you to our sponsors, Metro Aviation, BLR Aerospace, and Precision Aviation Group.
Welcome to the Hangar Z Podcast, brought to you by Vertical HeliCASTS. The Hangar Z Podcast is the first and only podcast dedicated to promoting and exploring the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation.
Still southbound, skidding to a stop. Stand by here. Looks like you're getting ready to bail. Heads up, guys, bailing. Okay, the guy, he's running through the house, jumping the fence, through the shotgun, through something out. Grabbing the shotgun. Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again. He is armed. Stay there. Hold your position.
It's time for your Heli Life giveaway buzzword. Listen up and remember this word because you'll need it to enter for a chance to win exclusive Heli Life gear. Ready? This episode's buzzword is suspect. Visit contest.verticalhelicast.com to enter the buzzword.
the last time we posted the position was when airlines were sucking everybody up and in big need, a couple of years ago. And then we didn't get a good turnout on interviews, and then had 2 guys picked, both of them backed out for better jobs. And so we were finally like, let's try something else. Let's go back to trying internally. So we posted it internally and ended up hiring or promoting one of our TFOs who had 0 flight time logged, but a ton of flight experience. And so we offered to pay his way through all the way fixed and rotor commercial. And so he's going through that now. I think he's got his instrument check ride maybe next week. So,
very cool.
So yeah, so I tell people now there's a couple ways you could do it. Ideally, if it works out internal, I'd like that because that's kind of my story. And I think it helps knowing what you're looking for from the air and helps with the job and retention. You've already got that state time, so you're not going to jump off to an airline or something. But
yeah.
So yeah, ideally, if that's successful, we'll keep doing that.
But talk about the makeup of your air support unit now, as far as, what aircraft you're flying, what your crew makeup is. You kind of referenced it a second ago, and then some of the missions you guys are a part of.
Sure. So yeah, we've got, as far as aircraft, right, I talked about what we used to have. We had an OH-58 go down in the mountains. Everybody survived, but got into LTE. And after that, we decided let's stay away from older underpowered aircraft. And you've got Bell 407s and A-Stars now. Let's look into those. So we ended up going with an A-Star about, it's about 11 years ago now. And then we phased out the OH-58s. And then about 2.5 years ago, we had a Cessna 206 go down in the middle of downtown Austin. It's a crazy story. My coworker has done a presentation at APSCON on it, but it was engine failure, a V-clamp on the turbocharger, exhaust cracked off, and just oil all over the inside of the cockpit and the gauges and the windows. And all he could do was open the window to see outside in the middle of downtown Austin at 500 feet is where the engine quit. And so fortunately he put it down in the river and didn't flip the airplane and didn't hit any of the hundreds of paddle boarders in the middle of the river over there. And it was perfect conditions. And he says, thanks to helicopter underwater egress training, he was able to unbuckle, open the door, get out safely and survive. So anyway, that's off topic, but we got away from the 206s and got approved for 2 Grand Caravans. So those have been completed at the factory, and we got to fly those, and we're supposed to get those delivered in November. So we'll be up to 2 A-Stars, 2 Grand Caravans, and we're at special session right now in Texas, and our leadership is asking for another helicopter after the Kerrville flood stuff too. So I don't know if we'll get it.
Will that be an A-Star if it gets approved?
I think so. Yeah, we want another A-Star, but we've also entertained maybe an ND 530 or something. But, so that's our aircraft. And then as far as our crew, we have myself, chief pilot, and then I've got 4 pilots under me and 2 TFOs and another full-time UAS program manager lieutenant position. And so I supervise our UAS program as well.
Okay. When you guys, with that air crew, when you guys deploy like to the floods, for example, and you know you're going to be in a rescue configuration, is that TFO then just in the back as a hoist operator? What do those rescue operations look like?
Yeah, so good question. So our TFOs, they start out learning the TFO side, the camera work, the radio work, all that through a lot of experience. We have a great relationship and actually share an office with Texas DPS here in Austin. And so our guys are able to hop in with them and go do some of their bigger action stuff and their training. They have a much bigger unit, so they can help train our guys as well. So starting with TFO, we get them qualified and signed off as a TFO. And then we move into getting them trained and signed off as a hoist operator, crew chief position. And same thing through joint operations with DPS and SRX, and we've trained with Austin PD, San Antonio PD. And so we get those guys signed off for that. In the meantime, we're also working on their aerial firefighting setups and getting them signed off for assisting with some of those things. But yeah, so our TFOs are required to be TFO and hoist crew chief for sure.
For the aerial firefighting, what are the responsibilities for those missions?
So we're brand new, just getting started on it, but we've been slow to progress in it. But last year we had a big fire in the Texas Panhandle that was something like over 1.1 million acres, and the state is saying, hey, we need kind of some state fire assets, and Texas DPS doesn't do a lot of that. Our Texas A&M Forest Service is kind of our state fire agency, and they don't have aircraft. They kind of contract just for a lot of that stuff. So with that, we kind of started pushing more and more into it. And even now we have three of our pilots trained at the aerial firefighting stuff. Unfortunately, our newest externally hired pilot, he came from a lot of the contracting, long line firefighting world. And so he's this super expert that's training us all up in it. But yeah, as far as what that looks like, I mean, we've got several Bambi buckets. We've got the cargo swings underneath both helicopters. And so we kind of expect our TFOs to help in setting up the Bambi bucket while the pilot's pre-flighting and getting things ready to go for a mission.
Any medevac component in all this?
Not yet. We're starting to look at that too. It's
Yeah.
funny you say that, but yeah, we're starting to see some sides of that. But right now, just the firefighting, and then the long line. We've been doing some long line training, which is some of the hardest flying I've ever done.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Talk about from the chief pilot's perspective, some of the challenges you've had as you guys have adopted new mission profiles. There's a lot of agencies out there that are wanting to do what you guys are currently doing. And I think it could be a bit overwhelming as you look at like all the considerations that have to be taken in place, not just getting the equipment and saying, I want to do it. It's the training that goes in. It's the proficiency after training. So what does that look like for you guys, and what challenges have you had?
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, probably the biggest is the training side. It's like with hoisting so far, it involves the aviation unit, but then it also involves our SAR team. So we don't have full-time rescue swimmers. They come from our SAR team. And so it involves getting their schedules to align, and they may be up in North Texas or on the Texas coast or a little more towards West Texas. And then we've got to pick a location. And with those other mission sets, the hoist and the firefighting and stuff, we try to stay constantly trained. We're training monthly or bi-monthly on both of those. So adding those tools to our tool belt also adds more time and busyness to our already packed schedule sometimes. And so fitting those in and trying to make it work where everybody can train has been a little bit of a challenge, but it's good. We've been working it out, and an incident like Kerrville showed that it worked out perfectly. We had all the people we needed to get out there and do that. And the aircraft also, when you have two aircraft, you don't really have two, you might have 1.5 because one's down for something, but another perfect alignment for us that both happen to be up and available.
Is everybody out of Austin? It's just one base, or do you have a couple places?
Yeah, so good question. So yeah, for our aviation, everybody's out of Austin. But like I said, the rescue swimmer side, they're not. They may be out across Texas. Right. We also train up our TFOs to be rescue swimmers also. Right now, we have a newer TFO, so he's not there yet. But that way, if we have something that we don't have time to go get somebody or somebody to come to us, we can just take those.
Do you find yourself traveling a lot? I mean, where you get something going on, and now, you're in a kind of a big state.
Yes. Yes.
And now you find yourself traveling for hours and hours to get to the mission?
Yes, absolutely. Definitely. Really? So yeah, fortunately, Austin's kind of centralized in Texas. So the biggest traveling is going to the Panhandle, Dalhart, Texas or something, or West Texas, El Paso. But fortunately, those areas of Texas are not super populated, and both those don't see a lot of disasters. Aside from wildfires lately. Yeah. But yeah, we do. We travel the whole state for hunting operations, for anything we do, wildlife surveys, and that involves all over up there. But saying that, we are looking currently at trying to, as these caravans are coming to us in November, maybe trying to branch out. And I would like to put, if it works out, to put another station on the Texas coast, maybe near Corpus Christi, to do some more coastal work and also cover South Texas. Good. And if we built up the unit big enough to also put another station more northwest, maybe San Angelo area, that can cover the Panhandle and West Texas a little better.
Are the caravans going to be equipped for, obviously not hoist, but all your other missions as far as surveillance or assisting your folks on the ground? How are they going to be configured?
Yeah, definitely. So both of them will have the new shot over M2 camera. And so I think we're kind of going to be one of the guinea pigs. I think there's a couple agencies out there that use them, but we're going to take those on in the fixed wing and see how they work. And we also have to go through STC process to build an elevator system for those on the caravans and the pods, the belly pods, so they can be dropped and everything. But yeah, so we'll have that. We'll have the full mission platform in there for the TFO with the shot over ARS system and all kinds of avionics I don't usually play with. But
those M2s are going to be a game changer. You know, I got a chance to demo flight one of those, and I was blown away at how efficient those camera systems are, the quality of those systems. And you look at it, and it's very intuitive. It does what it seems like it should do. So I'm excited to get your guys' feedback as you guys begin to operate those to see, you know, how it's improving your operations.
Yeah.
Going back to adopting new missions, I think one of the hardest things that comes to mind for me is developing the SOPs that surround a lot of the missions that you want to adopt. How did you guys identify those? Did you lean on Texas DPS and kind of lean on what they'd already developed, or what did you guys do for that?
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. Especially on the hoisting side, we did lean on them for some of that. And then on the firefighting side, they don't do a lot of firefighting. I think they have a Bell 412 that they firefight out of. So like I said, our newer pilot who did a lot of the contract world, he kind of gathered up a lot of Part 133 and information on his own from his old job, and helped us come up with a good SOP for that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we should never have to reinvent the wheel. It's genius that you guys reached out and went to agencies that had existing SOPs to make that the backbone of what you guys are doing. That's huge. In our previous conversation, you talked a lot about technology, and I love the conversations surrounding technology because it makes what we're doing so much more effective and efficient, just like we were just talking about with the M2. So when it comes to technology, what are some of the things that you're excited about, again, as a chief pilot, to start implementing into your guys' unit to make you more efficient and effective?
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
I think I talked about it last time, but of course, UAS being one of the biggest technology. I mean, it's not super new now, but still rapidly advancing. So I think that's making a big difference in supplementing our limited fleet and manpower for the whole state of Texas. And then another thing technology-wise that I see is improving efficiency is artificial intelligence. So big time. We're already seeing that ourselves in wildlife surveys. So some of the federal agencies are using those on offshore whale counts and stuff like that. And I've started to try to implement those in Texas, working with our wildlife division, our biologists, and I'm hoping to get there pretty soon, but I think it's going to be a game changer. I'll tell you some of our flight profiles for those wildlife surveys. So we're in a Cessna 206 and we'll be in a Caravan, but flying 80 to 100 feet off the ground, doing about 80 to 100 knots for 8 hours a day, doing these transect lines, dodging towers and houses and everything all day. So it's some really dangerous flying. So I think if the technology is there to be higher altitude, and the camera technology is always improving with more definition, and a computer can spot animals better than the human eye and say, this is what you've got. This is how many bucks, does, and fawns and pronghorn in the panhandle in this transect line. And I think it would help be more honest numbers and increase safety for us. And the same way, I think on the LE side, and manhunts, being able to spot a guy in a crowd with a blue shirt and brown pants or whatever better than the human eye. And of course, search and rescue too, when we're out in the middle of nowhere in the mountains trying to spot a kid or something. I think the technology is coming, and I think it's going to be a game changer. Hopefully, not put too many humans out of business. I don't know if you guys got the chance at APSCON, but I did the Waymo ride on the way home from the airport.
We did. We went to dinner.
It was cool. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah,
that was great.
I was impressed. You know, the smoothness of the drive. You know, coming to a red light, it would slowly brake, and instead of an abrupt stop, and it was great. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it was safer than most Uber drivers by far.
Yeah.
I mean, we had confidence. We were laughing like little kids the whole time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it was really entertaining. And we're taking pictures and video and,
Yes.
trying to FaceTime my grandkids because I'm like, this is so cool, just watching the wheels spin, with nobody sitting there. And it was fun.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
One of the things that I saw, Jack and I both saw at AppsCon, which was really interesting on the technology side, was the Centum LifeSeeker, the project they've got there. Essentially, it's a search and rescue device that allows air crews to isolate cell phones and geolocate a cell phone based on its signal. Like, man, how awesome is that? Not only will it increase life-saving measures because you can quickly identify where, well, in theory, if someone's got their phone on them, it's with them, right? But making the time that we spend, the resources we spend looking for folks, essentially diminishing that time and response. So love seeing those kinds of advancements in technology. Did you get a chance to check that out when you were there?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I just completely didn't think about it when you asked about the caravans. But yeah, so the caravans will also come equipped with the Artemis system, which is basically the same thing as the LifeSeeker, very close in price point and everything. But we got the chance to have those guys over here to Texas and Central Texas in a very rural area, and we're able to demo just, hey, here's a game warden on the ground in the middle of nowhere with a cell phone, and we'll put you in our helicopter, see if you can find him. And it worked very effectively. And yeah, I think it's going to be a game changer when we got lost hikers in the mountains in West Texas or the canyons in the Panhandle. Or even I was thinking, I hate to say it, in these floods in Kerrville, iPhone and phone waterproofing now. If you're looking for somebody, maybe they're unconscious and have their phone on, you can find them.
Yeah, they could be maybe in a tree or on an embankment, buried in stuff. But if their phone's on,
Exactly.
it's still sending a signal. And if you can isolate that, we were really impressed with that. That was really fascinating. And we won't talk about it, but it has a law enforcement value as well. Let's leave it at that. But man, a really cool angle on that. But for search and rescue, saving lives. I mean, we even talked about, avalanche victims. You can be under feet of snow and it'll still work. But
That's
not
true.
underwater, right, John? That was the one thing, not underwater. It wasn't able to detect that.
Yeah, it was a really, really interesting conversation. The other one that was interesting was the partnership between Macro Blue and Technosonic. So Technosonic's essentially going to be able to push their radio head to the display on a Macro Blue screen, as I understand it. So you could have that macro, or you could have that Technosonic radio head displayed on over top of your shot over ARS. So you're not having to, as a TFO, take eyes off the screen to go down to the radio head. You can keep eyes on the screen, change frequencies, do what you need to do on the radio while you're looking at the screen. Stuff like that is absolutely amazing. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't know that. That's cool.
yeah. I mean, that's all the kind of stuff that I really enjoy about going to AppsCon is, seeing the latest and greatest technology that's going to revolutionize our industry. And between the three things we just discussed, I'm like, man, this is all really cool. The technology piece is always fun for me to touch on. I want to go back. So I neglected to ask this earlier, and it's something I always like to ask. Funny stories. We all have them. We've seen weird things. All of us have. I'd imagine you probably have seen some weird stuff, some funny stuff back in the bush in Texas. Any funny stories come to mind? I mean, whether it was that or College Station that would be worth bringing up.
Yeah, so I can't do the R-rated ones, but I guess. But
there's R-rated ones.
But yeah, so I did have kind of a funny story I could think of. Was, like I said, I was in the Falls County, and I tried to be a good game warden cop, practicing community-oriented policing. Game wardens in Texas are very tight with landowners. So in a lot of these rural counties, if something goes down, a trespasser or whatever, they'd rather call their local game warden than a sheriff deputy or something like that, just because of the relationship they have. He's your local guy that you count on when you need something. So I try to be that guy, rancher stopped at his gate or something, and I'll get out and introduce myself and get to know everybody. So I feel like I had a good reputation. But after I left Falls County, I went onto the aviation unit and was kind of on a trial basis. When I first came onto aviation, they wanted to make sure I would stick around. They had another game warden in the past they pulled that backed out of aviation, went back to the field. So I had a few months that I was kind of back and forth between the field and aviation. So one night I was working road hunters where we're up in the 206 at about 3,000, 3,500 feet with night vision goggles. And usually you have the pilot and another observer who's helping watch. That night, I think it was me and the field captain for the area. And we're looking around, and with these kinds of missions, you have these NVGs and you're looking for spotlights that are waving across the ground. And you can usually see those for 20 miles out on a good night. So you can find road hunters or even legal field hunters that are hunting hogs at night on their own property way out. Of course, sidetracking, but now that's going down with thermal technology. Everybody's got thermal scopes on their rifles and thermal monoculars they're using for that. So it's tougher to find them by spotlights. But back then it was a little easier. So we find one, and it turns out we're covering a lot of counties, but it turns out this one that we found was in Falls County, where I used to work, or was still working part-time. And so we start circling it. We found out that they are, in fact, on a road shining a light, which is illegal. And so we assign a game warden who's nearby to come check them out. And we get two game wardens pull up on him. And then we know they got him. They got their red and blues on, pull him out. We watch for a minute, make sure it's not an officer safety thing. And then we move on to the next call. And so knowing that one was in Falls County, when I landed later that night, I called the guys that stopped them. I said, "Hey, who were those guys and what were they up to?" And he said it was a couple of kids that they told the game warden that the only reason they were out road hunting that night is because they had heard Brandon Rose was fired. And so the game warden told them, "Well, actually, you see that airplane that was up there? That was that's Brandon Rose."
That's really good.
Yeah.
He got fired. Green light. We could go do what we want now. That's really good. What are the chances, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Jack, I don't think I've ever asked you this question. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh boy.
Overall, the incidents that you've been a part of, what's something that stands out as funny? We've talked impactful. What's funny?
Yeah. Well, I think I have told this before, but that's okay. This is worth telling again.
Okay.
Pursuit. I was in K9, vehicle pursuit out of Hollywood, and it goes on for a while. I mean, a long while. And it goes into other divisions, and, I'm kind of in the back of the conga line, of chasing this guy, waiting for this guy to bail and for a perimeter. Well, it gets to the point where they start getting good looks at him because he's doing circles, and this guy is in a clown outfit. You remember this, John? Yeah. He's in a clown outfit. And so now everybody's just sitting at corners because he's circling, and we're all just laughing. There is laughter on the radio. And long story short, it terminates. He stops, and he gets out of they order him out of the car at gunpoint. And he even has the shoes. He's got the big old clown shoes on. How he was driving a car with that, I have no idea, with those shoes. The big 2-foot-long clown shoes, full makeup, full outfit. And it was hilarious. I mean, people at the termination point were laughing so hard they couldn't even point their guns. I mean, it was that funny. And what we found out later was he was doing a birthday gig in Hollywood, and his girlfriend and him went to it. And while he's at this doing a clown thing at the birthday gig, they have a fight, and the girlfriend leaves with the car. And now the birthday's over. Now he has to get home. So how does he get home? He steals a car. Of course. Why wouldn't? Of course. Like we would all do, is just steal a car. And he stole a car, and that's how that ended up. But it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And it was just hilarious the whole time. But when he got out with the shoes was classic. And there's video of it too. This was back in Life in the Beat days, and I think somewhere, I'll have to dig for it. There's a video where Life in a Peak camera guy was at that termination point, and it was funny. And they actually had picture photos of him in the jail cell too, sitting there, all sad clown. He was sad clown then with his shoes and his hat and everything.
And if he'd gotten a foot pursuit, that broadcast description would have been amazing.
Oh my gosh. And the canine search, sending your dog on a clown. I mean, what I really dreamt about was sending my dog on OJ, but it would have been okay to send it on a clown too. I mean, either of those, OJ Simpson, send your dog on him running from the Bronco, or a clown in the red shoes. I would have settled for either of those in my career, but unfortunately neither happened.
That's hilarious.
Even a judge and jury would find that funny.
Of course they would. Yeah, they'd be laughing.
Thanks for sharing that again.
Yeah.
As soon as you started talking about the clown, I'm like, oh, I remember that. That's only in Southern California, only in LA would you get in pursuit of a suspect dressed as a clown. That's
of course. Of course.
Well, Brandon, something I'm interested to talk to you about is border operations. I talked about working in San Diego, working at Southern Division, getting a chance to work in that small section of the border was really interesting. Obviously, Texas borders Mexico as well, and everyone knows, politics aside, that the border has been very busy and a source of a lot of activity for you guys, and that's changed recently. How has the change in activity there impacted your agency? Thank you to our sponsor, BLR Aerospace. BLR Aerospace's revolutionary fast fin system improves performance and enhances safety across various helicopter platforms. This cutting-edge aftermarket solution improves tail rotor effectiveness, stability, and payload capacity while reducing fuel consumption and pilot fatigue. Trusted globally, FastFin delivers unmatched control, efficiency, and reliabilities for diverse helicopter operations. Learn more at blraerospace.com.
100% with us. So yeah, we were, again, back when I was in the academy, everybody thought, you're likely to end up in a border county. Guys were in there for a little bit, and then they moved out as soon as they got their time to move to another county. But so we fully expected it. Our colonel at the time said, if you're not ready to go to the border, there's the door in the academy. So, but I didn't end up there. But yeah, working there for many years through different waves. We had Operation Strong Safety, and this last one, Operation Lone Star in Texas. So yeah, we at any time when OLS first kicked off, we had about 60 game wardens there, 30 day shift, 30 night shift on I want to say a 12 mile section of the river that would just cover boat patrols on the river right there. And so us in aviation, we would support, and we weren't as busy, but we went down there once a month for 5 day shifts. And we covered that same section of the river. And of course, while we're there, we're backing up border patrol with foot pursuits when they're helicopters, when we're closer than they are. Same with DPS and narcotics groups and that kind of stuff. But yeah, once the change happened, with things slowing down even for Texas DPS, our agency decided we didn't need to be there anymore. So for the past several months, we haven't done any border ops as far as on the river and for aviation.
Yeah.
We still go for calls and stuff that were needed, but yeah, not regular border ops.
Yeah, those operations I know impacted you guys heavily. Talking to our Texas DPS friends like you, they're having to regularly go down there and dedicate air crews and personnel to what's going on down there. What I think is interesting is to hear about the impacts that those issues had on local ranchers and the local populations. Any insight from you on some of the stories that you had heard from many of those folks, as far as how that surge at the border kind of impacted their life in a negative way?
Yeah, I'd say most of the stories and contacts I've heard were negative. It was the illegals would come in and make themselves at home and trash and destroy things. Even for those landowners that would try to leave waters and snacks out for them, it was trash and destruction, a lot of that stuff. So when we were there, especially in these border towns, nearly everybody we would run into was thankful for us being there. Super nice and friendly. It was it was a pleasure being there. It wasn't hard knowing you weren't wanted kind of thing. But then, there's stories of the more liberal counties in Texas that they are more welcoming. But like I said, I still heard negative stories of some of those.
Yeah, the media is not quick to point out what you're talking about, but here's stories like what you're talking about, the impacts it had on local hospitals. If you have a need to get into a local hospital, good luck, because it's overrun with other folks. So I'm glad to hear that there's a positive turn of events there, and that things have come back to some sense of normalcy. I guess that's the way to put it. Jack, any questions on that before we transition out of that?
No, I wasn't surprised at your answer, Brandon. I'm anxious to talk to Clay again about that at some point and hear what the difference is from the DPS perspective too. But I'm sure because they would rotate. They talked about how they would rotate and go into the border. I'd be surprised if that rotation's the same right now, because the crossings are almost zero. I mean, at places where they were having tens of thousands before. So yeah,
and it gets crazy over the years. I was a field captain. I didn't get the chance to mention that, but I promoted out of aviation for a little while up to the field captain role in Wichita Falls, Texas for 4 years. And I supervised a whole wave down there at different times. And as a field captain, you're sitting in a park, kind of at the boat ramp, and you're just sitting there. You'll have illegals walk up, and they want to be caught because they know they're going to get a free bus ride wherever they want to go.
Yeah.
But now things are changed.
Yeah, it's all for the better. It's amazing that I always, certain people covered those rancher stories. Bill Malusian comes to mind from Fox. I mean, he lived down there for months and months and months. And I always felt for those ranchers and the people that live down there and going, they're being really ignored. They're just law-abiding, hard-working ranchers, and their ranches are being overrun, destroyed, and nobody wants to listen to them. And it's such a shame. And, but I'm not surprised that your mission's changed in that area dramatically. That's good.
Going back to our conversation on drone operations, did a lot of the wardens that deployed down to the area have drones with them, and how'd they employ those down at the border?
Yeah, so we kind of had a mandatory deployment that I believe nearly all the regions in the state every game warden had to deploy, especially in the beginning, so often on different shift because guys didn't want it. And so we kind of had to force them. But then we started bringing our drone teams down there, and that counted as their deployment if they went out and operated the drone full time during their waves. And so that we had definitely a lot of volunteers doing that. They'd rather spend time on the ground running the drones rather than in a boat sitting for 12 hours a day in the heat. So we had full coverage of UAS nearly the whole time OLS was going on, and made a lot of successful cases with it. Assisted DPS, CID, and of course Border Patrol with stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. I know a lot of agencies are looking to integrate their drone programs or want to integrate their drone programs with their manned programs. What advice do you have for those agencies that are looking for, best practice and maybe even some political leverage to get it done? Because it seems like there's some agencies that their admins said, well, I know you might want drone operations to be under aviation, but we're not putting it there. Weird position to be in, but what advice do you have for folks that want to integrate?
Yeah, I'd say for us, it was very successful in starting it up under the aviation unit. And we started up early at the FAA Part 107 time. So it was very good that the FAA said, okay, here's all the drone rules if you want to operate drones. And it, all similar stuff to manned stuff. You had to learn airspace deconfliction and all kinds of stuff like that. So it worked out really well. But my advice would be, don't rush into anything. Don't rush into buying a drone. Don't rush into just flying. Get with several other agencies, similar agencies that has the same missions you do. Like for us, we eased into it and got a lot of FAA COAs and other things from a lot of other agencies. And if these guys looking into it reach out to any agency, I guarantee you any guys out there are excited about the program they have and are eager to share everything they have free of cost, no need to pay other departments. And I think that's a big benefit. And then, of course, share their experience with specific UAS models. Like us, we had some bad models at times that I'd be glad to tell people, hey, stay away from this one. It didn't work well for us. Just because it's new doesn't mean you should jump on it. But that's my biggest advice.
When it comes to recruitment of those folks, I think that's an interesting conversation as well. Because again, we're looking for a lot of the similar skills in the drone operator that we're looking for in TFOs. What is your selection process, and what have you found that works when you're looking for good candidates for drone operators?
Yeah, so I would say someone eager to do it, someone excited to do it. We've had some drone pilots that were voluntold by majors to get into it, and they don't care, they don't learn the laws. And in Texas, we have a requirement that you can't fly a drone and film private property, which is most of Texas. But some of these guys get into it in Texas thinking, oh, I'm going to use this for all my cases, for trespassing, for road hunting, for deer breeder operations, for that kind of stuff. And then they come to class on day one and realize this isn't the tool I thought it was, or this is just a toy. Why is there so many rules to it? Kind of stuff. So yeah, I look for people who want to do it. And then I also try to find people that are tech savvy. Kind of similar with my TFOs. I like TFOs that are pretty tech savvy and that maybe even have some video game experience in there, to work the hand controls quick. So yeah, same with UAS. You want people that are eager to do it. And even in our bigger UAS program with 50 something pilots, it's you've got the guys that are way ahead of even the drone program supervisor at the technology, and that's what we want. We want guys eager to improve it.
As far as the integrated training, what have you guys found that's successful as far as just that integrating the UAS and man training?
Yeah, kind of like what we hit on already. I'd say communication, briefing is most important. Establish exactly where you're going to be and how high you're going to be, and when in flight on the training, you're talking like at SARX. I had a couple drone pilots that were saying, okay, we're launching the drone. We're going to be over in this area to this altitude. Then I had another one launch and orbit me when I was in the middle of a hoist, and I had no idea he was orbiting. It made great videos, very cool, but I didn't have any. So I'd say communication's most important, and deconfliction, of course, and then just talking through everything that both the manned and the unmanned side are going to do.
Very cool. Yeah, it's a hot topic for sure. Jack, any thoughts or questions there on that?
Yeah, I love what Brandon just said. I mean, communication, deconfliction, and altitudes. Those are the big ones. I mean, they really are. If everybody follows the rules and follows the guidelines, it can be done very safely. Where I wouldn't worry. But if I'm flying and doing a hoist and all of a sudden I see a drone orbiting me, that's a problem. Now we have a problem. And there's going to be a good ramp talk on that one with somebody, but because we follow the rules, it's safe. If we don't, if we even break it a little bit, it could be catastrophic. And all I would say is the example, and it's not a drone example, but is the Potomac incident. If that Black Hawk is where they're supposed to be, that doesn't happen. I don't know the reason they weren't there. It doesn't matter for this conversation. What matters is if we're following altitude rules, things will be separate. Things will stay separate. A jet and a Black Hawk would be separate. But if one or the other breaks those guidelines, that's a problem. The communication cannot be stressed enough. I know Clay stressed it in the article I wrote for Valor. Aaron Fitch from DPS also stressed it, saying direct communication between TFO and drone operator, how vital that is. And I agree with that. I mean, so that, and not just for safety, it's for efficiency and effectiveness on the search for whatever you're searching for, but certainly for safety. Be able to tell somebody, hey, drone one, you need to do this right now. I mean, and not have a middleman or that doesn't need to go through someone else to get to them. It's direct. And they could do the same to you if something came up emergency wise or a problem, like a runaway drone, all of a sudden, hey, I just lost control, runaway drone, I want to know about that as a helicopter pilot. I'm getting out of Dodge, I'm going to get out of there if I know that. But if I don't know that because I don't have communication, now the risk goes up. So it's good. I love the integration. I think it's necessary. And I think it can be done providing everybody trains together. And that's where the SAR-X comes in, and understands what each other's jobs are. And it's the number one reason, getting back to what you brought up, John, and that Brandon and his crew are doing, the number one thing is that the UAS is under the manned aircraft, if there is a manned aircraft element of your agency. If you're separating them, it's insanity. Why would you do that? I mean, why would you do that? You have, for so many reasons, to be in this under the same command, and it will enhance the safety dramatically. It will enhance the skills of the drone operator. They can, go to a TFO and say, hey, I just had this happen with my drone. I found something, but man, I was really lost for the words to explain where it was. Oh, well, TFOs have been experienced that for decades. So it's a natural thing for them to describe that. And I think more and more agencies are figuring that out. I mean, we just had Nick Romano on at ABSCON, and he's from Broward County. He is the lead drone operator. He is assigned to the aviation unit, and he's the lead drone guy. He's not the helicopter pilot or TFO. He's the drone guy. It's perfect. It works really well for them. York up in Ontario, Canada, they do it. So many people that we've talked to about this, the benefits of what you're doing, having them combined, are going to make you a better unit, both, and a safer unit. And for those that aren't doing it, you've got to fight to get it that way. I mean, fight whoever you have to go to. You've got to fight to get manned and unmanned under the same roof. And when I say under the same roof, not literally, it doesn't have to be literally under the same roof, but under the same command and structure, so that they can talk regularly and work together. I'm glad to hear that that's the way it's working with you, Brandon. It's a smart thing to do.
Thank you to our sponsor, Metro Aviation. Metro Aviation, the world's largest family-owned aeromedical operator, offers comprehensive aircraft services with 160 plus aircraft in over 25 states. The Completion Center installs medical and law enforcement kits and avionics, serving diverse aviation needs including offshore, utility, VIP, and corporate sectors.
A good success story on that is even in the Kerrville floods, we had our aviation man side is smaller, so we were all so busy with everything. But the unmanned side was a little bit bigger, and my UAS supervisor, luckily, he was at the JAG CT, kind of keeping records of everything we were doing on the manned side as well. So I didn't have to send one of my guys over there to do that and log rescues and evacuations and all that, and do the workbooks, the fuel expenses. And so he's aware of that because he was also kind of part-time TFO for us for a while. But having him under, like you said, the same command, he's able to keep up with what's going on the manned and the unmanned. So it was a huge plus there.
Heck yeah. It seems common sense, but common sense is a superpower today. So I don't know.
Jack, to plug your article real quick, you wrote an article in the ABSCON issue of Vertical Valor Magazine talking about drones. Can you plug that just briefly?
Yeah, it's just basically what we're talking about. I use Texas DPS as my source and as an example, because I think they set the bar very high, and I think they're ahead of the curve. But it's basically about what they do from day one with their drone operators in the 5-day initial training, for instance. They stress airspace, working in airspace with other aircraft from day one. And by the end of that first week, they're in a scenario where they're operating their drone for whatever the scenario is, search and rescue, looking for a bad guy, doesn't matter. And suddenly, guess who shows up? Texas TPS helicopter. And so before they even graduate from that class, they've already worked with a helicopter and maintain communication and maintain their altitudes. And that forms a confidence and a comfort level for both. And what I found was that if you do it that way, the pilots and TFOs are going to buy in much more easily. I would be hesitant to show up to an operation where there's drones flying that aren't trained in that area. That would be stressful as a pilot. I think we'd all agree. But if you've trained and you know that those people know the rules, they're going to follow the rules, and I have communication with them, I wouldn't worry about it a bit. So I think that was the main takeaway from the article. But there's much more. I mean, it's in the current issue, the Abscon issue of Vertical Valor. You can go online. It's a printed copy too, with the Phoenix Air Support A-Star on the front. But it's on verticalmag.com. Go to Valor, and you can look it up. There's a lot of great articles in that issue on a wide variety of topics and agencies and stuff. But it's one of the articles that's in there, and I'm really happy with it because it's the reality of the world today. You know, manned, unmanned, sharing airspace on the same mission. We've got to do that right, or we're going to have disaster.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's important to talk about this as much as possible. That article follows the article that Brent Mundy wrote on Phoenix PD's maintenance program, which was our first article that was released as part of our Blades of Valor tour from 2025.
It's a great article on maintenance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brent did a fantastic job on that.
Thanks for plugging that, and Brandon, thanks for talking through that with your agency. Whether it's the floods or just drone integration, it's important to keep talking about that. So thank you for taking the time out of your day and out of your busy schedule to sit with us and go through the good work y'all are doing down there. Last question I'll ask is for aspiring public safety aviators, whether it's a TFO or an aspiring pilot. What advice do you have for those folks?
I would say just keep at it if it's what you really want to do. As a matter of fact, I had somebody call a kid from the public yesterday asking the same thing, that's interested in being a game warden pilot. But yeah, I'd say see what's required. Of course, for us, it's a degree, and then if that's your goal, live the Dave Ramsey style of eating out less or whatever to save money for flight time and build up hours or whatever you need that would improve your chances of getting it. And
he says beans and rice and rice and beans.
That's it.
What he says.
John Gray is Dave Ramsey's #1 fan. So that's funny you brought that up, Brandon. Yeah, John's a big fan of Ramsey.
Live like no one else, so later you can live like no one else. There you
That's
go.
Right.
He's got all the lines, man. That's great.
Yeah, so I'm not the perfect follower of that, but yeah. So I'd say if it's your goal, I mean, keep the sights on and do everything you need to make it happen. And of course, don't give up. I tell people to be a Texas game warden, we get we usually have anywhere from 40 to 50 spots, game warden spots for the state of Texas every year, and we get anywhere from 700 to 1,000 applicants for those 40 to 50 spots. So I tell people there's a good chance you may not get it on your first try, but keep trying. I sat in my academy class next to a guy who had tried 7 times over a period of like 10 years before he finally got a spot. So don't give up. Same with aviation. I mean, it may not happen right away, but if you do everything right and focus on it, you'll make it happen.
Yeah, that tenacity is huge.
I had a question from earlier, Brandon. You mentioned the degree. You happen to have a degree in something related to wildlife. Is that a requirement that it be specific to that sort of thing, to the wildlife thing, or is it any 4-year degree?
No, so yeah, thanks for asking. Years ago, it was either wildlife or law enforcement related, criminal justice. Now, though, since before I started, they changed it to a degree in anything. It can be an online bachelor's in finance or whatever. It can be anything.
That's
it's
important.
Really,
that's important.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really to get on with this agency. It comes down to your drive. We do a little more of PRT than other agencies, and that we're a lot of times on the water. So we do a big swim test to applicants, and then also an interview. And from the interview, you pick up a lot about a person, whether you're in it because you like the hunting, fishing, enforcement side, the conservation law enforcement side, or you want to go out there and save the trees, and different things we're looking for in applicants.
Cool. Thanks.
Well, Brandon, again, it's been an honor to sit here and talk with you. Thank you for your time, and look forward to seeing you again in person. We really want to get down to Cyrax. That's such a cool exercise. So it's on my list. Hopefully we can make it down there and see you guys doing your work down there.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Jack, any closing thoughts before we head out? Yeah,
I want to thank Brandon, first of all, for joining us. We knew we wanted to have you on, and then we talked to you briefly on the candidate level, and we knew we wanted to have you on and talk to you. But I want to especially thank you for sharing your experience with the flood, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's painful to talk about, but it's important to talk about, and so that we all learn. Somebody might grasp something out of that conversation that will help us get better, and that's a good thing. But it's important for people to know what all of you did. You know, what you did personally, what your crews did, what other air crews did, what people on the ground did. I think all that has to come out in a big, big way, because it's easy to be a critic. And I'm not a big fan of the critics, jumping and speculating and stuff. I want to know, what happened and who did it, and talk about the great things that happened. No incident is perfect. Everyone understands that, but I think it's important to highlight the great things that were done in that flood. And I'm just happy that you were willing to share it, because I know it's still fresh, and I know it's still painful, and things are still happening out there. So thanks for joining us, but thank you also for sharing that. It's important.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me and considering me. It's much appreciated. Yeah. And it was great seeing you in person.
Yeah. That was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the last comment I've got for you, Brandon, is again, going back to your APSA time, whether it's your time as a central region director or now as a treasurer. Thank you for doing that. The amount of work that you guys have to put into making a conference successful is crazy, and I only know a fraction of what you guys do, but I know it's very time intensive, and it's a thankless job a lot of the time.
It's a huge undertaking. A huge undertaking. Just the ABSCON alone, it's a huge undertaking to organize that. So thank you. Yeah, I'd like to thank you too for that. It's a lot goes on behind the scenes that everybody takes for granted, including me, including John. We take things for granted. Oh yeah, this just suddenly appears, and here's our passes, and here's all this stuff on the floor, and we have fun, and we go to the events and laugh and network and learn things. But for that to happen, it takes a whole year. I mean, I'll bet, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys have already talked about Fort Lauderdale and things that are already in motion for Fort Lauderdale next year, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. We even talked about as far as where we're going to do 2029.
Exactly. Wow. Exactly. So ABSCON 2026, Fort Lauderdale, start looking, marking your calendars and doing all that, because that'll be interesting. That'll be fun. First time going there, I believe, correct?
I think so. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm very cool. That's going to be great. Anytime you compare a trade show with a vacation afterwards, that's winning. That's my goal.
Yes.
Well, again, thank you, Brandon. Thank you to Mike and Linda at MHM Publishing for making the Vertical HeliCASTS platform a possibility. been so cool to see the response, you know, at AppsCon and all the other trade shows we get to go to, the folks that listen and that volunteer like Brandon did to become a guest. If you have any suggestions for guests or topics that you'd like covered, please reach out. That's huge. Leaving us a rating and review on the platform you use to listen to is important. And it sounds silly, but it really does help folks discover the show. So if you get a chance, please leave us a rating and review. Lastly, go to Vertical Valor, check out the good work that's being done there. Jack's article is fantastic. Until next time, we'll catch you later. Thanks a lot.
Bye, Nightshade.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Hangar Z Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more stories that promote the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Lastly, stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors. Cheers. Thank you to our sponsor, Metro Aviation. Metro Aviation, the world's largest family-owned aeromedical operator, offers comprehensive aircraft services with 160 plus aircraft in over 25 states. The Completion Center installs medical and law enforcement kits and avionics, serving diverse aviation needs including offshore, utility, VIP, and corporate sectors. Thank you to our sponsor, BLR Aerospace. BLR Aerospace's revolutionary fast fin system improves performance and enhances safety across various helicopter platforms. This cutting-edge aftermarket solution improves tail rotor effectiveness, stability, and payload capacity while reducing fuel consumption and pilot fatigue. Trusted globally, FastFin delivers unmatched control, efficiency, and reliabilities for diverse helicopter operations. Learn more at blraerospace.com.
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Hangar Z Podcast, brought to you by Vertical HeliCASTS and in partnership with Vertical Valor Magazine. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights from Brandon Rose's remarkable journey and his first-hand account of responding to the devastating floods in Central Texas. His stories underscore the resilience, adaptability, and skill necessary to serve an emergency response, especially in extreme conditions. Brandon's emphasis on quality training, innovative technology, and the vital importance of continuous learning remind us all of the critical role public safety aviation plays in saving lives. Thanks again for joining the Hangar Z Podcast. We'll catch you next time. Cheers.